the economic situation in Germany. Obviously, you're also talking about the overall economic situation in the European Union, and it's not good. The economic situation in Germany is going from bad to worse. And Merz, he gave a speech the other day, which was delusional, and you really listen to Merz and the only thing that I can think of is that this guy has lost his freaking mind, right? He's talking about the economic situation in Germany is a result of Trump, or partly a result of Trump and the tariffs and the tariff policy, and how the United States is moving away from Europe. Pax Americana is over. He doesn't dare touch the real reason why Germany is undergoing deindustrialization, of which you were the first to identify this 4 years ago, when you actually used the term deindustrialization, which now the entire media, mainstream media and alternative media is using that term deindustrialization. But you brought it up about 4 or 5 years ago. Everyone thought you were a little bonkers. What is he talking about? Deindustrialization of Germany? How's that going to happen? It's not only happening, it's happening on steroids.
Absolutely. I can tell you exactly when we brought up the topic of deindustrialization in Germany. I remember the specific program. It was the program that we made directly after the previous German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, suspended Nord Stream 2. He put a stop on Nord Stream 2, and we said over the course of that program that was going to lead to the deindustrialization of Germany. And that ball has been rolling and gathering speed ever since. And that takes you directly back to the cause of this deindustrialization. Now, it is becoming absolutely critical. Volkswagen has just closed a major factory in Dresden. The first time Volkswagen has ever closed a car factory in Germany. And overall, German industrial production not only is continuing to fall and fall every month, but I read somewhere that it is now 20% below its 2018 level. Obviously, there was the coup, there was the pandemic, which also caused the fall. But you would expect after the end of the pandemic that there would be a recovery. Instead, what we are seeing is a protracted decline. And that decline is accelerating. And there is apparently very bad news coming out of the chemical industry.
Oh boy, that's all not good. Good morning, everybody. Actually, good afternoon here by 3 minutes. Lavender, who is Neil, and I think Neil comes on quite constructively on our calls, posted this. A special shout out to Corey Brandolini and the entire Railtown AI team. You all are knocking it out of the ballpark. It sounds like I should have gone to the meeting, but I got indication that annual meetings are not, they're just a waste of time. But I wish I had been there. But anyway, as ever is in life, you just got to go with from where you are. I wish I had been there. Anyway, you all are knocking it out of this ballpark. Corey delivered a phenomenal presentation explaining the history of Railtown AI from how it started to where it is today. Excuse me. Railtown AI is an investment. I'm sure of that now. In other words, it's not, as we've been saying, it's not hot money. It's not day trading. It's not subject to pumping and or dumping or any of that. I mean, it's afflicted with the U.S. markets and the Canadian markets disease of a coordinated, concentrated scheme of stealing and people's money. But anyway, that's a policy decision, and we can't change it. What we can do is take advantage of the low price to make sure that we make back our losses and go into the green enough to pay back for this education this time. Anyway, Lavender continues. After the annual meeting, Corey took 90 minutes. I wish I had been there. 90 minutes with shareholders and explained in great detail the journey, explained the tools in which Railtown AI has developed, battle tested, and once again, SOC2, SOC2, socket to me, approved. Your data will be secure. AI should be in everyone's portfolio for 2026. And he continues, think as an analogy of when the personal computer hit the markets, which was sort of mid 80s, I think, maybe even the late 80s. And what's happened with computing through now, it's created wealth, for example, in Microsoft and in Apple computers. All that time in between will be purged. All of that will be purged and replaced with AI. Thales just didn't throw darts blindfolded and select Railtown AI technologies. Thales did so because of the software tools that meet the goals within the Canadian AI ecosystem. Let me just prove one thing he said. I don't know why I apologize. It's not very pleasant, but I'm allergic to something. This was posted on Corey Brandolini's LinkedIn page about 2 days ago, 3 days ago. No, it says here 2 days ago. Railtown AI Technologies has achieved SOC2 certification once again. This was after a rigorous audit by Prescient Security. This milestone reflects our continuous prioritization of data security across all Railtown products, ensuring every solution we deliver is built on trust and industry-leading safeguards. And you can find this on there. Well, you can find it on his LinkedIn, Corey Brandolini. Hothead. I don't know if you're describing me or your puppy dog, but good afternoon, Hothead. Good. Hello, Red Pepper. I like this broken record. You know who died the other day, Red Pepper? I think you're from Texas. Joe Ely died the other day. He's a young man. That was a surprise. I don't think most people know him, but he, I think he wrote the song Bluebird, which Emmylou Harris made. Let me just check that. Made famous. But he, great songs. Dallas, Have you ever seen Dallas from a DC-9 at night? Dallas is a jewel. She is a beautiful sight. That's a great song. And then his bookends of I love I'm not going to play it because they'll ban this video. But She Never Spoke Spanish to Me is one of the greatest uh, country, I guess, quasi Mexican country Laredo music. But so much is good. And then on the other end of that was She Finally Spoke Spanish to Me. It was about 10 years later. And then Gallo del Cielo is a great song. And I thought he did Bluebird, but maybe I have that wrong. Yeah, there it is. If You Were a Bluebird. Great song. Anyway, it's too bad that he passed away. Me and Billy the Kid was a good song too. Met her in old Mexico. She was laughing, sad and young, in a smoky room no one could see. Her favorite poets all agreed Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. She was born in Monterrey, and all the Christmas songs were sung. The padre knew what she'd grow up to be. Saints and sinners all agree Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. Like a lion screaming in the jungle, she never fooled with what she couldn't see. She spoke to all the shadows in her bungalow, but she never spoke Spanish to me. She said, if you're from Texas, son, then where's your boots and where's your gun? I smiled and said, I got guns no one can see. We laughed at that. We both agreed. Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. I left her in old Mexico. She was laughing, sad and young, in a smoky room, and no one could see. Her favorite poets all agreed Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. No, she never spoke Spanish to me. I can't type anything. And then I'd say about 10 years later, and it's such a good song. Dun 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 dun. Waiting for the train to France, I hung my head in shame, feeling for all purposes like a man without a name. Adios, that's all she said. I knew it had to be. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. Life just passed on. Life just passed by on the sly. I tried to live mine over. It's been a cold, dark, lonesome night on the white cliffs of Dover. Adios, that's all she said. It echoed across the sea, but she finally spoke Spanish to me. Wine and dreams, she blew the candle out. I came to her for something I went away without. Adios, that word will always haunt my memory, but she finally spoke Spanish to me. I left my boots in Italy, soles wore out in Spain. I left my guns in London town, just smoking in the rain. Adios, that's all she said. I knew it had to be, but she finally spoke Spanish to me. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. Wine and dreams, she blew the candle out. I came to her for something I went away without. Adios, that word will always haunt my memory, but she finally spoke Spanish to me. Written by Butch Hancock. Well, I hope he finds his Spanish love in heaven. And we all say adios to Joe Ely. That's a shame. I don't think I ever saw him in concert. Would have liked to. I'm not sure. I might have. All right, let's go through what we know and what we don't. Joe Marty. Good job, Joe Marty. 5,000 this morning. That's awesome. Marty Party. That is awesome. It'd be great if you get to 200, but if you don't, it's all right too, because remember, we all have these goals of rounding out the numbers, but the other side of the trade is selling if we sell. I have a feeling you're not going to have to make the decision to sell Railtown. And I wanted to go through an example of that with you because I do have these high numbers in my mind, but I can also see a scenario where a company like Microsoft might not pay the huge numbers that I'm thinking. Why? Because they might try to buy it out early, and then you've got shareholders might want to sell the company. It's just first it's action by buyers, probably unsolicited. Then it goes to vote, and you never know. But whether we get, in my scenario, I have no idea whether we get Microsoft at $10 or $15 a share or at $55 a share. Maybe it does or doesn't matter. I don't know, but I'll try to go through a bit of an example. It is showing a lot of stock for sale, which is all fraud, but I think they're going to try to break it down the best they can. This morning, I show volume right now, 26,600 shares. I know that's the low volume. I think that's the real volume for selling. And I'm sure it's over 100. It'll come up in a minute or two. It'll show 100 and something. But I think they're trying to cover and cross stock. But they'll try to drive it down. They'll try to get that extra penny out of it, the extra 3 pennies. And for those of you who think the stock price is telling you something, it's telling you that management is terrible, that the fact that Dr. Tom Core couldn't get the AIP transaction closed is the fault of Corey Brandolini. Therefore, you should judge the guys at Railtown as not being that great, but the people at AIP are fantastic. I don't know if that's the right interpretation, but hey, you heard it. You heard it whispered in your ear. Um, for those who think that buyers in Canada should be front running the documents they sign, the non-competes, the standstill agreements, while there's material information, I think you're just wrong. I just think you're wrong. For those of you who think that the stock price is telling you something, yet at the same time, when stocks run up like GDC and G-Bucks and others, you say, oh, that's just a pump. Well, pick your side. Are markets manipulated, or are they telling you something? I think market prices under $5 are nearly meaningless. Nearly meaningless. What you have to do is come up with what your impression is of the value of the company. You're buying the company, a percentage of it, and then you have to ascertain, has management or will management enter into a toxically destructive financing so that the Stevie Cohens and the Ken Griffins and the Andrew Leffs or their extended aide-de-camps can drive the stock down and steal the entire market cap for these greedy ambitions of these overpaid wankers and the financial types. If you determine that the company has avoided that quicksand and you combine it with your own projection that the company is worth X to X, maybe you think in the case of Railtown, maybe you think the company is worth $250 million to all the way as high as $2.5 billion, that big range, because you don't have enough info. But heck, if you think it's worth $250 million, that's over $1 a share. And if the denominator can be fixed, if the number of shares is certain, as close to certain as possible, everything changes a little bit. Well, then you can divide the value of the enterprise in your study, your analysis, by the number of shares that are outstanding. And if your value is down the road, you discount that value to the present and you come up with a price. Every scenario that I can come up with, and we'll try to go through some, at 30 cents or a $50 million market cap, a $50 million market cap at 100x, which might be high. In a buyout, that would probably be high, but it might not be high in a private financing. But we're not in that situation. We're in the clutches of a Steve Cohen, Goldman Sachs, Ken Griffin, Adina Friedman, Chucky Cromwell, the SEC. We're in the maw of the greatest theft ever for the last 2 decades. But on the one hand, you see that. On the other hand, it's got to be the fault of Corey. It's got to be bad leadership. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Everybody has their own opinion, and sometimes it's bigger than their nose. If you have 100x, this stock is projecting $500,000 in revenue next year. If you use 100x. If you use 50x, it's projecting $1 million in revenue next year. It's absurd. The company started 6 years ago. It's beyond R&D. You're still paying a pre-seed price or a seed price, a pre-Series A price. They use all these terms. Pre-money price. That's what you're paying. But the company is now in commercialization. What happened? They stumbled across a terrific group of guys in AI partnership, and they bought it. I submit to you that the professorial, very smart, creative professorial Dr. Tom Core never ran a company before, and he didn't know how to get AIP closed. But many of you point out accurately that the leader is Corey, so you got to blame him. Fine. You know what? Stop doing that. Get that out of your system. Just get it out of your system. Blame me. Blame William for being early. Put it on me. All your hatred and all your coulda, woulda, shoulda, and what an idiot. Call me the idiot. Everybody does. Everybody doubts my judgment. Everybody moves on. Just do it. Dump it on me. But don't miss out on the investment. Don't blame Corey. Don't blame Dr. Core. But do not miss out on the next 2 weeks, the opportunity to buy this stock, because you can buy it. The institutions and the close investors, the insiders and the whales in Canada, they cannot buy it. They cannot buy it. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of this systemic stealing that goes on in the marketplace. Those guys, they have a short-term goal, and they're all men. They have a short-term goal to drive the price down, book it so they can get their commission and their short-term gains. Take advantage of it. Load up. Load up on Railtown. If you use a 25x, if you use a multiple against revenue of 25x, which is, I'd say it's right up the middle, right up the fairway maybe, of software development companies. But if you add AI, it's usually much higher. If you use 25x, this market price is predicting $2 million in revenue next year. $2 million in revenue. It's absurd. Once this company hooks up to TELUS and Dr. Tom Core starts moving over, we watched the video yesterday. He said over 100 million in revenue. The document says 120 million, and he did say for 125 companies. Once he starts moving it over, what's the key thing? Not when it moves over, just that you can project it moves over. Well, if you use 10% as the revenue share, I think that's way too low. But if you use 10%, Railtown will do $12 million. That's the low end. That's the low end of the projected annual revenues for LangChain when they valued LangChain at over $1 billion. I think, for me, I think give or take 20% is a more likely split. And I've explained it before. I'm not going to explain it now, but I'll just say that revenue splits in the oil and gas business and on Wall Street normally aren't as low as 10%. And they can go all the way up to 50%, but I don't think TELUS is going to give 50%. So if you use 20%, right there on 100 million, don't use 120. That's 20 million in revenue. ARR. Right now, the discounted projection of that revenue, the multiple, 2.5. That's a finger motion multiple, 2.5 times revenue. Is that reasonable? Only you can decide, but I tell you what, my judgment is this pricing isn't going to last after the snowbirds get back from skiing, or whatever snowbird means, and the tanning freaks get back from the Caribbean. When Bay Street comes back to their desks the second week of January, I don't think you're going to see a $50 million enterprise value for Railtown any longer. There may be a lag. Maybe research is out. Discussions have to happen. A lot of institutions in Canada are not able to buy stocks below $5, but there are quite a few that can. Retail can. And next year, I think next year is going to be a huge year for silver, gold, and platinum, and palladium, and copper, and miners. We've already missed the first move in the metal, the easiest move we missed. But that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. There'll be opportunities in the miners. That's where we have to look now. But you know what else is going to be huge? AI software development, AI 2.0. The money's going to flow. Interest rates go down. Everyone assumes earnings will be fantastic in technology, and they're willing to give pretty high present value to future earnings as long as interest rates are low. I don't know. Something. I'm allergic to something. I lectured the guy at E-Trade today for 10 minutes on what's going on. He was very polite. He listened to me. But I spent another 45 minutes on the phone. It's very difficult to get stock entered into the electronic system, and that's on purpose. But to finish my thought, at this market price using 12.5 multiple, it's projecting $4 million in revenue next year. It's insane. It's insane. It's so mispriced. But we have our anxiety, which I understand. It's in the red. It's been a year. William was wrong. He was early, wrong. He was urgent. He was wrong. I get all that. Now the volume's 155 million shares. So my guess is 125 million of the sales today are all fake. They're all fake. But take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Last trade, 200 shares at $29.59. Just had to get out of 200 shares. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Although that might have been a buy. It's kind of right in the middle of the quote. Hey, Fast Eddie, how are you? I wonder if we can get Lavender to call in. I suppose he'd have to give me his email, and I would. He could send it to Farron. Well, then I couldn't do it today. Anyway, he could let me know if he's sending it. I could I could try to find it without signing off and then send him the link. There's a button here that I can invite, and he could come on. Sure. Snooze. Suze. Thanks for keeping us updated. Your efforts will be profitable soon. And your hair will be longer. You'll be friendless. You'll start talking to yourself, speaking to the walls, shuffling to the street, mumbling to yourself as time goes by, but you will be profitable. Hey, Richard K. Hi, William and Lucky. Keep an eye out for big MMTLP related FOIA to be released this week. Well, I put a call into that company today, and I'm hoping to hear back. I have a project that I've been waiting to finance in Texas, and it's perfect for the company. I don't know if they'll do it, but it's perfect. It's huge assets, proven. Well, there's always, you need updated documents, but existing reserves. And then private equity wants to come in and fund the whole thing, but it's just the initial piece. So anyway, I called him about that. I don't know if he'll call me back, but I'm going to try to get that done. I've been waiting for over a year for funding, and I no longer have confidence in it. So I'm going to try to see what I can do. Hey, Steve, you're a good man, Uncle Bill. You're a good man, Mr. Grinch. Keep up the good work. Suze picked up 10,000 new total. I wonder who that is, Suze. It's probably Susan, I guess. But I don't know the name, Suze. I'll find it. That's great. 10,000 is a huge number. Huge number. I don't know why the names come up without. It's got to be something I couldn't, some setting maybe. I don't know. Akira. Just deposit money in Schwab. Wow. All right, Akira. All right. It's a pink slip, OTC stock. Yeah. That's the nightmare. What they've set up is when you're in this netherworld of OTC, they can just do this destruction. But that's our advantage. We can buy this stock while the big boys and girls can't. So we can pay 50 million in enterprise value, approximately, depending on how you calculate it, for Railtown, which I would submit to you has a clearer path to profitability, but also a clear path to massive profitability. And it already has its sugar daddy client lined up. And we all know it. It's all been press released. That's a bit of an assumption in there. You have to wait for more news. But Langchain is valued at 25 times this enterprise value. And why are we so lucky to have this price? Well, one, a professor was handling the paperwork and the process over at AIP. And according to my sources, the guys at AIP are fantastic, but the people at Railtown, they don't know what they're doing. I think that information is a quick analysis that misses the mark by a wide percentage. But hey, heard it on the phone. It's got to be right. So it brings in all this tension, all this negativity. But I think it's wrong. I think it's understandable why it took so long. Once you understand that, you have to take, just like Lucky Boy would do, you look wistfully back at what you were trying to see. You take a deep sigh, and then you turn to the future. You lift your tail, you walk with excitement, your ears flat, and your nose is forward, and you're focusing on what's coming rather than what could have been. AIP took bloody 7 months to close or longer. That's a fact, Jack. But you know what happened in the meantime? TELUS came in. How do we know that TELUS isn't taking forever to get? I mean, I should have looked, but they have to make sure that they're helping women in Papua New Guinea get away from the men who eat each other, cannibalize each other, and make sure that women have dresses and I don't know, the vote. They got to get those kind of things out first. But eventually they're going to get to information that tells us more about whatever's clogging up the full disclosure pipeline. Once things are fully disclosed, you'll see all of this will be a story. I'm not sure it'll be funny, but it'll be something you can sit and talk about over a table when the stocks, my opinion, I know it's hard to believe, this stock will be $3, but I think it'll be $30. So after perhaps there's a bidding war. When you go higher in numbers and your imagination goes and you try to see around a corner, there's wider range of missing the mark, but I think your stock's going to go to $30 or higher and maybe be bought out by Microsoft. And then you're not even paying taxes on that uplift in your net worth in your account. And you'll be sitting around and saying, man, that William was such a jerk. He was wrong. He got us in it. I paid 52 cents and I could have paid 30 cents if he had just been more accurate. I'm mad at him. But maybe your wife will say, well, honey, he did get you in it. Yeah, but I'm never speaking to him again. I have access to other information. That guy, he was flying blind. Well, maybe you'll say that. But you know what? It'll be a story. And it'll be something you can tell and regale your audience with as you're sitting on an account that's worth 100 times what it is today without having to pay taxes, if I'm correct that there's going to be a buyout of the company. I think it's unavoidable that there'll be a buyout of this company. Unavoidable. But we'll see. I've been wrong in everything. Remember to blame me for what's wrong. Don't blame Corey. Don't blame Dr. Tom Core. Don't blame the engineers. They're the ones that have been working hard that are going to make a lot of money for you. So just put your anger off on me, separate from me, hang up the phone, don't speak to me again, go on a tiff or a tizzy, and seek out other understanding of what's going on. Fine, but hold on to your stock. Hold on to your stock, and when it's worth 100 times here, enjoy it. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not even asking that you give me credit. Give yourself credit. Give Tony Two-Step the Tiptoeing Tiger credit. Give Frank Benedetto credit. He'll take it anyway. And then he'll have some other idea you can lose your entire net worth on. Do you guys realize we have 16.5 million shares? If it goes to $10, those guys are going to want your capital. That dyed, black-haired, British-speaking dude, he's going to want 40 million for his company that sets up hotels in Mauritius so he can be a big shot. That Greek guy that has contracts in North America, Europe, and Africa, he's going to want 35 more million from you. The guy that used to own a sklod worth of old penthouse pictures, now he's in something else. He's going to want money from you. They'll come breathlessly on space calls asking for your capital, going into a company so they can finance a deal. All these people are going to come after your capital. But you know what? It's your foresight, your risk-taking, your hard work that's going to create $150 million worth of equity or more, or a lot more. They're all going to come after it. They're going to claim credit. And if you don't move away from this hot money bullshit trading, you'll lose it back. And you'll make some CEO king of the hill. You'll be financing somebody else's lifestyle, and the promoters will get rich in between. And then you'll be sitting sucking your thumb. Please, when Railtown goes to 10, we have $150 million collectively. If it went to 100, good Lord. Why don't we stick together and invest professionally, create a company, do something together, rather than listening to these charm boys and the CEOs who just want to pluck your capital so they can continue their useless lifestyles in some cases. In other cases, they're probably good guys. But in all cases, it helps the so-called financiers and the hedge funds steal from you. Don't let them steal this. This is going to be on the one hand, some of the hardest fought money that you're going to have made. On the other hand, you're not going to run across something this fortuitous again in your investing career, in my judgment. Why? Because the shorts do destroy the price of stocks. Because companies are subject to bear rates to help the toads of the world. Because Corey and Marwan, who I think are exceptionally forward-thinking and very talented and have created a hell of a company, they got together 6 years ago and they built this in advance of the data centers and in advance of AI 2.0 before everybody was talking about it. So it's a perfect storm. And then what we get all upset about, of course, and I'm upset too, it's had an effect on me. They decided to buy AIP, which Perhaps, we don't know for sure, but it looks like that delayed everything by 9 months. Well, anger. Corey's if he worked for me, I'd fire him. All that. I get it. But process all that. Put it on me, as many of you have, but don't put it on Corey, because you're going to miss out on an investment that rarely comes by. The stock price is mispriced to the downside. You're able to buy it because it is, ironically, because it is public. Wall Street has put the whole capital formation game to just a handful of men. Every now and then they hire a woman for human resources, or they put somebody out as a face, like Adina Friedman, so she can waddle around and say she's the most powerful woman on Wall Street. What good is it being powerful if you do nothing with it? Or you can't do anything, which means you're not powerful. But anyway, these handful of men are just sucking up all the wealth of this country to themselves. Well, we've tried to fight that battle, and we will again when we have money. But for now, just acknowledge that that's one of the reasons the stock price is down. There's no research yet that's meaningful. There's no buying because material information has been delayed. And partially the great news, it's fantastic news that they bought AIP. We know AIP has $400 million worth of annual recurring revenue to roll up. We know it has $120 million in annually recurring expenses for hosting that will now, ironically, become revenue, shared revenue with TELUS. Maybe it's 25 million annually that comes into Railtown, almost 100% margin. It's powerful, and it lasts and lasts and lasts. So that was a great acquisition. But then during the I can't use that word, during the blackout period, out of left field, TELUS, a $30 billion company, links up with Railtown. Well, the criminal activity continues. Therefore, it must be bad news. It must be terrible news. And Lang Chain and other companies have leaped ahead technologically because the stock price is down. I mean, can't you see it? When are you going to give up on Railtown? You're an idiot, William. I mean, the price is down here. They make fun of you. Obviously there's something wrong. The price is down. I choose to let the facts all come together. And there are a lot of facts. There are a lot of evidences that tell me that price is wrong. And it's hard to stand against the emotions, the anger, the highly intelligent people looking at the same information I'm looking at and coming to the conclusion at the bottom price that the company sucks. I don't see it that way. And it's hard to stand against it. But I'm standing against it, and I'm telling you to stand against it. And it's the greatest opportunity. Why? It's in an industry that is the greatest technological revolution in 150 years, according to James Altucher. Morgan Stanley says this is going to revolutionize our lives. Now, I've heard some things about quantum computing, and frankly, it all is beyond my understanding. I can barely put batteries in a thermostat, but maybe quantum computing is going to be another area. Maybe there's other things. But AI, data centers, NVIDIA, and this kind of technology is going to create real wealth. So you have an opportunity to get in while there's no buyers, while the story is not being told, while there's so much vitriol and anger and hatred even toward me. Don't put it toward Corey. The stock is rock bottom. If you need a reference point, and I'll try to find it again for you, Sequoia and the other group of the investors valued Lang Chain, very similar company. I think it's an inferior product, but the market is so vast that there's room for two. I mean, there's room for Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. There's room for Morgan Stanley and UBS. There's room for UBS and JP Morgan. There's room for two. But they valued, when they raised 125 million, they committed 125 million privately. They estimated the annual revenue, recurring revenue for Lang Chain at between 12 million and 16 million. And they priced that son of a gun at 1.25 billion. That's 90x, 80x, 85x on revenue. I mean, if you use that value, if you use the midpoint of that 85x, I can't even read what I came up with because it gave me a bunch of E's. I think it's telling me that the company would do 600,000 in revenue next year. It's giving me a complicated 5.88. Maybe I did do that. I don't know I don't know why it's giving me that. Anyway, it's ridiculous. On the other hand, if you go to the positive side and you assume that next year, maybe as soon as the first quarter, that Dr. Tom Core can get in front of a handful of institutional investors and say, we are going to transfer 120 million in hosting that's currently being spent by our network on hosting. We are going to transfer it to TELUS, and I'll let Corey tell you what the deal means in the revenue sharing. You could estimate 120 million is going to come over in the future. Doesn't have to come over right away, but it's got to be known that it's going to come over. And maybe you take, I don't know, 15% of that. That's $18 million. That's outside to the high side, the range that they used for Lang Chain. Take 18 million. And you multiply that by 85. You get $1.5 billion stock. Company. $1.5 billion company. These are imprecise, but you divide that by the current market cap, that gives you 30x. You multiply 30x times 29, that gives you a target of $8.87, just to get to the valuation of Lang Chain based on numbers that Dr. Tom Core said in the interview, the excellently run interview by Rebecca Kurzweil, and it's in the documents, just on that known revenue. You don't have to know any other revenue. And Lane Chain makes zero money and needs 125 million to develop its product. Railtown doesn't need anything. I mean, I'm sure they'd like it, but they don't need it. And that revenue, 18 million in this estimate, it's almost entirely cash flow. So it's almost entirely profit. Cash flow measures profit, I guess you could use that word, prior to any of the accounting adjustments. It's a pure measure before the accountants get involved. Well, that's your target. You can make 30 times your money if that target's reached. And you'll still be angry at me. But please, be angry at me. Don't be angry at Corey Brandolini and Marwan and Dr. Tom Cord. Get upset at me because I'm an asshole. I told you to get in June. I told you to get in a year ago, and I'm wrong. And your money could have been used in G-Bucks or GDC. Just get mad at me. Don't get mad at the company, because the opportunity in front of you is enormous, and it just doesn't come around. I would say this is, I really have never seen a stock have so many things go against it on the stock price, but go for it in the background, therefore give us an opportunity to acquire it, while the real buyers can't buy it. And Wall Street's all focused on private companies. So it gives us a huge opportunity to get in at a pre-money valuation. It's incredible. And stay in at a pre-money valuation. All right, let's see. I see G. Diddy. I picked up 34,000. Good for you, G. Diddy. This is amazing. You're adding a lot of stock, everybody. That's awesome. I'm really excited for you. Edward Barona. Oh, please. Please, please me like I please you. Neil. Here's Neil. Let's go to Neil. Good morning, Bill and fellow RT investors. After yesterday's meeting, Corey sat down with myself and other shareholders, I wish I had been there, for approximately 90 minutes in a highly energetic presentation from when the company, this is Neil continuing, started on white paper. A white paper which took 9 months before the journey. So in other words, they created a white paper 9 months before they started this journey, which we are on today. I would encourage anyone who was in the Vancouver area to schedule a meeting with Corey. He will walk you through each step. I'm skipping you. I'm skipping you for just a second, Giuseppe. Neil says, while explaining the significant difference between ChatGPT and Railtown AI, when the PC era started, which I think was sort of 85, until now, all of that, I guess you're saying, all of that technology will be replaced with AI. It's going to happen, and it's happening now. Others have referenced Spotify model, Neil goes on. Others have referenced the Spotify model payment, I guess, model, the system, from what I could comprehend, Railtown will have similar payments from users, whether they spend $3,000 or $50,000 per month. TELUS is just one revenue stream. What about other hyperscalers? Exactly. Let me put that differently, Neil. What if they prove concept? What if they prove the concept with the one data center that TELUS already has ready to go, and it moves to the second data center TELUS has, which I think is also ready to go? That's two. In Canada, there's something like 200 or more data centers. If this works, why wouldn't they all do it? Microsoft has over 400 data centers worldwide. Why wouldn't Microsoft buy this company if this works, install it everywhere, charge everybody for it, and Microsoft with their own power, they could pay 40 billion, I'm making it up, 40 billion for the company, and then put this now Microsoft-owned technology across 400 data centers, and they could take the value from 40 billion to 400 billion or higher, conceptually. I'm going to go with Neil and come back. Neil says AIP will continue to grow with companies continuing to come on board. Mainly these companies are agents, but now require the brains to develop quickly, efficiently, and to identify errors. So AIP welcomes Conductor, which took 9 months to build, test, and battle test and get through the SOC 2, Socket to Me certification. Neil says, I am stoked to have Railtown in my portfolio as an investment. I could sense that Corey wanted to say more. Continuing with Neil Gondik. There is more work required with the TELUS data centers in Quebecois and Kamloops with the hardware. So that's NVIDIA, I guess, and that's racks, and that's, I don't know, hookups, power hookups, data hookups, data outflow hookups, I don't know. But that soon will be behind us. Microsoft is spending $7 billion in Canada. Start connecting the dots. Now, the only dot I see is, if the story were so great, why aren't people front running it and driving the stock up? If you go with that thinking, you're going to miss out on one of the most exciting opportunities, I think. I agree with what you're saying, Neil. There's more work to do, but how much more? They had this data center set up in the summer, so how much more? So that there is more work required with the TELUS data centers in Quebecois with the hardware, but that will soon be behind us. Another way of reading that, Neil, once that's behind, I guess they have to do some test running for a while. I don't know how long that would take, a day or a month or a year, I don't know. But once that's over, you start hooking up customers. It's all empty data center, all ready for everyone to transfer over to this state-of-the-art data center. Microsoft is spending $7 billion in Canada. Start connecting the dots as Railtown is well connected, and Railtown was the first. Sorry. Let's start that sentence again. Microsoft is spending $7 billion in Canada. Start connecting the dots as Railtown is well connected with Microsoft. And Microsoft were the first to provide rail with seed money at startup. I assume that's what you're saying, Neil. Let the impatient sell and move on. You will not find another person with Corey's leadership, experience, and executing ability to execute. Yeah, but if they couldn't close the deal with AIP, and all your information is wrong, and you've been you're flying blind, obviously he has no leadership. Well, that's one way to view it. I think if you act on that negativity, you're going to miss out on. Well, I gave you my number. I think you're going to make 100 times your money. Or more, actually. Neil says, take this opportunity to review the investor deck, educate yourself, and do not listen to the disbelievers. In my hot off the press opinion, in my humble opinion, Railtown is, I agree with you. In my humble opinion, Railtown is being built. In other words, they're going to build out this contract and other things, but they're going to prove commercialization. They're going to prove commercialization. And then sold to the highest bidder. I don't think they can even control that. There's a bidding war going on, or a arms race going on for all these companies. I don't think Railtown's going to have any say-so on it. They're partners with Microsoft, partners with AMD, partners with NVIDIA. There's 3 buyers. Constellation Software is Mike Nobrega and John Ruffalo. That's another huge buyer. And then there's, I don't know, the network of companies that get connected by investment bankers. I think there'll be a bidding war. Talk about the upside. Neil continues, talk about the upside to even get near the $1.5 billion by similar companies in the same sector. I'd love to hear what other companies, because I only know Langchain, but it'd be great to compare it to others. But at $1.5 billion, from approximately a 50 million market cap, and again, Yahoo's is different from other services, so it's not an exact market cap estimation, but that's 30x, just like we calculated. Just as Neil's pointing out, just to get to the valuations that the brilliant people on Wall Street and other hyperscalers are valuing similar companies for, who are not subject to short selling and the predatory policy practices of Wall Street and Bay Street and off Wall Street and off Bay Street. 30 times 30 cents is a $9 stock price. You get to buy this stock while nobody else can at 30 cents. If it gets to $1.5 billion, it's a $9 stock, roughly. And what was one of the risks the denominator, how many shares you had to divide 1.5 billion by. Well, now we know these guys, Corey and the rest, did not take any Hello? Hello?
Hello, who's speaking?
Bob?
Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, that's me. I got to call you back. I'm on a conference call, but you've called me 4 times in a row. So I wanted to.
I got all kinds of numbers. I wasn't sure. Which
All
one
right,
to
I will call you back probably 4:30
Oh, no problem. Anytime
my
you need,
time.
sir.
All right, bye. Okay. There's lots of pie for everyone to enjoy. I may add other info as with. I wish I'd been there, but I was told that going to an annual meeting is a waste of time. All right, let's go back up. Let's go back up to Giuseppe. Hello, William, and to all the good people here. Giuseppe says, thank you, Neil. Yeah, my Sharona. Probably is a shill. You know what, Giuseppe, I'm just going to take. He's gone, Giuseppe. He's gone. I won't even respond to anything he says because he's gone. I can't see it. So the volume now is 227,000. What I think's happening here is the stock is under pressure from the shorts. They're gonna drive it probably to 27.5, 28, which is where it is on the bid. And they're crossing the stock. They're colluding with each other, which is illegal. They're spoofing, crossing, and lying about tickets and moving trades, all illegal. But they need to close these positions to book profits and get out of the way of what's coming. And I think that's what's going on right now. You can take advantage of it because you can buy hypothecated stock and rehypothecated stock that your broker has to honor while these guys are issuing it in volume. And it won't be there in the future. Ironically, you can buy more stock while the stock is 30 cents than you're going to be able to buy when it's $3. And it's not just because of your limitations of capital. This will end. This gamemanship will end. But for now, it's profitable for them. It's profitable. Take advantage of their blockhead. It works, but it's a very crude weapon. You know how it works, yet you can't get it in your brain, and it's hard for me sometimes too. The stock price is telling me all I need to know. If it's so great, it would be $1. That's wrong here. That's wrong here. For now, anyway. Scott Scheller, yo, Mr. William, what's up? What's up? Well, picked up 500 now. Just kidding. Only kidding. So you didn't buy any. Railtown. Let's see how the world turns. Hope you are well, sir. All right, so you didn't buy any. Okay. But thank you. Thank you for your good wishes. Donna says, wow, Neil G., that sounds incredible. Thank you so much for the information. T. Alex, hi everyone. T. Alex, as of late 25, both of Teles's primary sovereign AI factory data centers are operational and serving enterprise and government clients. Wow, that's big news. T. Alex, Rimouski, Quebec. This facility was the first to launch, officially opening on September 24, 2025. It is powered by 99% renewable energy and features advanced NVIDIA supercomputing infrastructure. Kamloops, British Columbia, following the Rimouski launch, Kamloops and Rimouski. TELUS expanded its sovereign AI operations to its existing high security data center in Kamloops. That's the last comment. All right, so the stock right now is 29 cents. Let me show you a chart, which isn't, it's mixed message, but it's not the greatest. That's all right. That's our opportunity to buy. That's our opportunity to buy. This is the chart from yesterday. This black line, unfortunately, the black blocked out the lows on the red, but it's pretty accurate depiction of what's happening to most of the trades. There are the lows over the last several trading days have been higher lows, except for that one trade yesterday at the opening that broke it down. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to break it down. See this green horizontal line? I think that's support. It was back over here for 2 months, 3 months. They're trying to puncture that. And then it could go to 25 cents or somewhere in that yellow range. Back this year, it traded sideways in the 23 to 27 cent. No, sorry. The 26 to 27.5 cent range, 26 to 27.5 cent range. It traded sideways for several weeks, many weeks. They're trying to get it down there again. I don't think it's going to do it, but that's the risk. And the chart, let me show you down here. You see this green circle? The MACD is trending upward and it's crossing the line, which is a bullish sign. However, up here, the yellow circle, and you can't quite see it. You can't quite see it because I drew a red line. But the 50-day moving average has crossed over the 200-day moving average to the negative. That's not a good sign for the short run. Anyway, I think the green line is support, and they're going to try to puncture it. I think the blue line is the top of resistance. And it's a thick line because here it's pretty clear that the bottom of the blue line is the resistance. But over here, the middle of the blue line is resistance. So anyway, that's resistance. So I think as the stock continues, in my judgment, to trade up this diagonal, I could be wrong, they're going to try to break it down. But if it continues to see higher lows, eventually it's going to break 30 cents, 30.61. And then, it's not much higher. It'll go to 32 cents, 32.5. But anyway, that's our next couple of weeks. And then if it does go above all this down here, I think it's going to have a little difficulty getting through 35 cents for the rest of the year. And then I can't read that number, but it's probably around 38, 39 cents. It'll have some difficulty getting through there too. Once the stock breaks this resistance and that resistance, which I don't expect necessarily to be one day, but once it breaks through this noise here between, I can't really read that, 38 to 45, it might mean that we have to trade around in that range for a while, because a lot of people who bought the stock at 42, 45, and even 50, as it goes to 50 cents or even 55 cents, they're going to go, wow, I got my money back, I want to get out. So you're going to have to churn through that a little bit. Hopefully most people don't do that, but it's just human nature. When they cause this much anxiety and pain, and I'm just hoping it's not another GTII, when the stock gets back to 50 cents or so, people are going to say, oh, I just want my money back. And that's a shame if that happens, but it's normal. Anyway, after we get through this area, I think it'll be clear sailing. It'll be clear sailing. I don't know what order all this is in, but I just want to show you a bit about LangChain from their own website. Which is valued at $1.25 billion. I agree with Neil. It's probably valued at $1.5 billion now, because they raised that money end of the summer. So this is LangChain, Langsmith products. The Langsmith is observability, agent builder, which it says beta, LangChain, LangGraph, and then deep agents, which are new. Look, they've got all the money of Croesus, but it is beta and new. Railtown's ready to go. So anyway, this is their page for Langsmith. improve agent quality with evals. The thing is, they destroy the English language just so they have a new way of expressing everything. So this is LangChain's site for, it's called blog. You see it up here, blog.langchain.com. And they have a whole bunch of things here. But over here, it says LangChain and LangGraph frameworks reach version 1.0 milestones. Version 1. Railtown's been there. Anyway, then LangChain raises $125 million to build the platform for agent engineer. The platform. That's what they're saying. So this is on their website, LangChain's website. You see it up here, bloglangchain.com, written by Sidney Runkle and the LangChain OSS team. We are releasing LangChain 1.0 and LangGraph 1.0. They're still early on. Our first major versions of our open source frameworks. After years of feedback, we've updated LangChain to focus on the core agent loop to provide flexibility with a new concept of middleware and to upgrade model integrations with the latest content types. These two frameworks serve different purposes. LangChain is the quickest way to build an AI agent with a standard tool calling architecture, provider agnostic design. So it has a standard tool calling architecture. It's agnostic as to the provider, and it uses middleware for customization. LangGraph is a lower level framework and runtime. It is useful for highly custom and controllable agents designed to support production grade long running agents. These 1.0 releases mark our commitment to stability for our open source libraries and no breaking changes until 2.0. Oh man. I guess it makes sense to geeks. Alongside these releases, we're launching a completely redesigned doc site. So they're spending their 125 million. But, okay, here's the raise on their website. It's a 1-minute read. It's dated October 20th, 2025. LangChain raises 125 million to build the platform for agent engineering. We raised 125 million at a $1.25 billion valuation to build the platform for agent engineering. Today, we're announcing we've raised 125 million at a $1.25 billion valuation to build the platform for agent engineering. Well, you can say it all you want, but I think you're late. Anyway, we are also releasing new capabilities to accelerate the path to reliable agents, including LangChain and LangGraph 1.0, both of them releases, a new insights agent, and a no-code agent builder. IVP led the round alongside existing investors Sequoia, Benchmark, and Amplify, as well as new investors Capital G and Sapphire Ventures. From AI native startups to global enterprises, builders trust LangChain's products to engineer reliable agents. Today, we're grateful to power AI teams at Replit, Clay, Harvey, Rippling, Cloudflare, Workday, Cisco, and more. The core ideas we had when we made the first commitment to the LangChain package 3 years ago still hold true today. Large language models will change what applications can do, but the real power comes from turning large language model applications into agents with access to data and APIs. Agents will function as complex systems that require new tooling and infrastructure to harness the power of generative AI. Today's reality is that agents are easy to prototype, but harder to love, but hard to ship to production. That's because any input or change to an agent can create a host of unknown outcomes. Building reliable agents requires a new approach, one that combines product engineering and data science thinking. We call this discipline agent engineering, which, buckos, I think you're catching up to somebody else. Anyway, I'm sure they got good stuff. They call agent engineering, which is the iterative process of refining non-deterministic LLM systems into reliable experiences. That's just a really hogwash paragraph saying they hope they can create something that works, but I'm sure they will. We have evolved our offerings from original LangChain library based on feedback from millions of developers and thousands of customers in our community. We've always let you choose the best model for the job, no matter the vendor. Today, we are launching an expanded platform in order to catch up with Railtown. I made that last part up. The LangChain community can build agents with our open source frameworks, LangChain and LangGraph. LangChain helps you get started building agents quickly with any model provider of your choice. We have completely rewritten LangChain, see, in its 1.0 release, 1.0, to be opinionated, focused, and powered by LangGraph's runtime. LangGraph allows you to control every step of your custom agent with low-level orchestration, memory, and human-in-the-loop support. Or you can go to Camaloop to get the best-in-class support. You can manage long-running tasks with durable execution. Previously, Langsmith helped you understand and test your agent. Now, Langsmith is a comprehensive platform for agent engineering that helps AI teams use live production data for continuous testing and improvement. Langsmith provides observability to see how your agent thinks and acts with detailed tracing and aggregate trend metrics. Evaluation to test and score agent behavior on production data and offline data sets for continuous improvement. Deployment. To ship your agent in one click using scalable infrastructure built for long-running tasks. Agent Builder. Now in private preview, they're still testing it, to reduce the barrier to building agents with a no-code text agent experience. I'm sure they'll catch up. Anyway, I may have skipped a paragraph. I don't think so. Open is part of our ethos. So you can use Langsmith whether you build your agent with our open source frameworks or not. If you do use our stack together, you'll be able to iterate faster toward reliable agents. The space evolves rapidly, that's true, and so do we. And I hope Railtown does, I think they do. Today we are announcing major 1.0 releases of LangChain and LangGraph, marking stability with a completely revamped LangChain package focused on pre-built architectures for common agent patterns, improved model integrations, and no breaking changes until 2.0, plus new docs. Well, it is true. If you have 125 million smackers, you can rapidly speed up your changes. They're also announcing an insights agent, a new agent in the Langsmith observability that automatically categorizes agent behavior patterns. They also have announcing Agent Builder, which is in private preview, to lower the barrier to entry for building agents with a no-code text agent builder experience for business users. The momentum we've seen is just the beginning. Today, LangChain and LangGraph have a combined 90 million monthly downloads, and 35% of the Fortune 500 companies use our services. Monthly trace value for our commercial LangGraph platform has grown by 12x year over year. We'd love you to be part of our story. So head over to Docs to see what's available. Stay tuned on our blog for deep dives on every launch this week. And next, take a course to up-level your skills. And if building the future of agent engineering sounds fun, join us. We're hiring. Isn't that special? All right, let's not go to that yet. That's LangChain, and we'll go over some other things shortly. All right, T. Alex wrote, data sovereignty. Both centers ensure that all data processing, application hosting, and network operations remain entirely within Canadian borders to meet strict privacy and compliance standards. Infrastructure from Alex. The facilities utilize NVIDIA's Hopper and Blackwell-based supercomputers to provide high-performance computing, HPC, for training and deploying large-scale AI. That's training the AI. T. Alex, strategic partnerships. These centers host the OpenText and TELUS Canadian Sovereign Cloud, a collaborative cloud solution specifically designed for public sector and enterprise workloads. T. Alex, sustainability. The data centers are designed to be 3 times more energy efficient than industry averages, using intelligent natural cooling to reduce water consumption by 35%. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I got to get something to eat. An apple. I'll bring it back. But let me just do that. I'm going to put up my Venmo so people can make fun of me. But it's also because I have to ask. And I'm extremely appreciative of everyone, including PJ, for donating. This is Thursday. Hopefully tomorrow will be the last day I have to ask. Anyway, I'll be right back. Just give me a minute. Sorry about that. Try to eat this without too much noise. I want to show you something else. I want to compare LangChain to I want to compare their website to Railtown's website. It's all very similar. It's amazing how run down you can get if you don't eat something. All right. This is their website. There's Rail Engine, Rail Tracks, and Conductor. Rail Engine, a data development platform that enables teams to ingest data in real time or in batches, apply masking and transformation steps, and store data in a unified query-ready database. And then they show you their data to agent workflows built in hours. In the middle is Rail Tracks, an agentic framework for building and deploying autonomous AI agents built for real-world orchestration, integration, and scale. And you see the headlines, but there's one: secure and deployment-ready agent. Conductor, agent observability and applications, productivity acceleration for the AI era, for end-to-end visibility across deployments, runs, reasoning, outputs, so teams can optimize performance and control costs. Agent observability, full app orchestration, complete visibility. This is from their website. Building world-class agentic frameworks and observability tools. Railtown develops advanced AI agentic frameworks and observability tools which empower businesses to efficiently build, deploy, and manage AI-driven solutions. Railtown Technologies agents, are purpose-built for companies and software development teams creating autonomous AI agents or integrating agentic capabilities into products and services. You can go to their website, Railtalk's agentic framework. You get the idea, code, run agent, agent visualizer, pre-built orchestration layers. Railtrack's agentic framework, an open source agentic framework for building and deploying autonomous AI agents built for real world orchestration, integration, and scale. This is an example. System visualization agent. And this is what they see on their screen. This is the pre-build agents. It's all code. And that comes to the bottom. Anyway, it says build smarter agents faster, easier for free. Sounds good. Sounds good. And then here's further Railtrack's agentic framework. Railtown is a streamlined agentic workflow creation tool that allows users to quickly prototype, test, and deploy agent workflows. And I don't know. It makes it easier. I don't understand the advantages because I'm not a programmer or a developer. Developer productivity unleashed. What is DPE? Developer Productivity Engineering is a proactive data-driven approach that removes friction from software development with automation, smart insights, and streamlined CI/CD. And then it's a root cause agent. I'm going through it quickly. You can find it on their website. Conductor.ai. For development devs, root cause agent accelerates debugging. It identifies root causes. It provides suggestions. It flags errors. I think these are new. This is from the Conductor website. Development teams, daily stand-up priorities, reduces manual work, deployment insights, the velocity dashboard, a central hub for key data to stay informed and make better decisions effortlessly. The whole goal is to maximize developer productivity. Feedback loops are shortened. Error detection and analysis, collaborative tools, chain unification. Hundreds of pre-built integrations. And then here's their facts that they have all these questions at the bottom. One of them I asked, do we need to replace our existing application and performance monitoring solution if we choose to use Conductor AI? Not at all. One of the strengths of Conductor AI is that it works alongside your existing monitoring tools. You can continue using the tools your team already knows and loves. Pretty good, huh? It's going to say it's too many files, I'm sure. Always does. Okay. I checked, and it's discouraging. OMERS Ventures does not invest in publicly traded stocks under $2 a share. So that's a price limit. Plus, maybe by mandate, publicly traded stocks are rare. I don't know. OMERS Ventures is a venture capital firm focusing on investing in early stage private technology companies, not purchasing existing low priced public stocks. I don't know if that's, once the price goes above $2, I'm not sure that's going to apply. So OMERS Ventures invests in private companies during their Series A to C funding rounds. Do you know? Lang Chang just did this Series B funding round. You're able to buy into Railtown before any of these funding rounds. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable because we're doing it on our own, but we get a great price. They typically invest between 5 million and 25 million. Imagine if they invested that much here. I think they'll get an exception, but that might be a restriction. Mavericks Ventures primarily invests in private high growth startups, not public stocks. So they wouldn't focus on stocks under $2. Their goal is early stage equity. That's where we are. Venture capital. Mavericks invests in unlisted companies for high returns, accepting high risk for equity stakes. Mavericks enters into early stage investments, private markets. So those two companies those two investors, I think will have to at a minimum wait until they get an investment committee exception. Okay, so here's good news. Canadian institutions, family offices, and funds absolutely invest in stocks under $2. So this is good news. Who invests? Venture capital and private equity specialize in early stage, often sub $2 companies for high growth, seeing low price as an entry point before significant scale up. This isn't a resource. Micro cap funds and family offices. Wealthy Canadian families with significant assets, 25 million, often invest directly or through private deals in promising sub $2 companies for diversification and high returns. Individual retails and investors in retail, they do so too. So then here's a list. Here's 3 companies key areas, you know, the small mid-cap equity funds, resource sector. Here's some fund names that do it. I didn't look any of them up. There's 3 there. But then look at this. Here's a list of all funds, not all, I don't know about all, but this is a list of many funds in Canada that invest in low price stocks. And that's not the only page of this. Here's another page of names. And that's not the only page. This is the final page. So there's plenty of potential buyers out there. Earlier today, this was the volume at the opening. The one on the that says 0 was from last night. So it opened with 4,600. That kind of looks like a real seller. But then at the exact same time, it showed volume of 100,000 shares. I think everything's manipulated. So I asked it, how did LangChain get all of its customers? Is it easy? How do they sign up? LangChain customers can sign up for an account via email and a password. And it shows GitHub, Google. Once signed up, down here, users can choose from different pricing tiers, including a free developer plan with a pay-as-you-go option or a plus and enterprise plans for teams and custom needs. I'm showing you this because I wonder if Railtown will imitate this model. The free developer is here on the left. In the middle, it's $39 per seat per month. And the enterprise is custom. So it's almost $500 a year. And then the developer is a maximum of 1 seat. The plus plan is up to 10 seats. And the enterprise plan is custom. So the developer plan is pay as you go. I don't know what this means. You pay 0.0005 cents base trace, 0.0045 extended trace upgrade. I have no idea. But that's your model. You sign up by clicking email and a password. It's very simple. And what if Railtown's just that easy? LangChain's growth in users began with its open source launch in October 22 and experienced explosive community growth in the early 2023, rapidly accumulating users and downloads. What if Railtown's that easy? Key growth metrics and milestones include GitHub popularity, The project's GitHub stars tripled from 5,000 to 18,000 and now 70,000. What if Railtown does that? Downloads. The framework achieves significant download volumes quickly. Total downloads jumped from 20 million to over 130 million across Python and JS versions. Monthly downloads of 90 million. Funding. They did a funding at 10 million, a seed round in April, and just a week later, they did the Series A round for 25 million. You never would have gotten into Railtown if it were in the private hands. So Langsmith signups for its commercial observability platform, Langsmith, which launched its beta in 2023, the company reported over 70,000 signups by last year. The project's success was driven by its ability to provide developers with an easy entry point. I would submit to you that Railtown's going to not reinvent the wheel. So this is reflections on 3 years of building LangChain. Almost exactly 3 years ago, Harrison Chase is the founder and CEO. I pushed the first lines of code to LangChain as an open source package. There was no company at that time, no grand plan for what the project would become. A month later, ChatGPT launched and everything for LangChain changed. It quickly gained steam as the default way to build your own LLM-powered apps. Maybe. Over the past 3 years, the industry has matured past prototyping chatbots toward productionizing and ruinizing English. Productionizing agents that do things, and LangChain has evolved into LangChain, the company. I'll try to show you if I can find it. One of Railtown's website links is to railtown.github.ai. So the fact that LangChain is linked so closely to GitHub, so's Railtown. And maybe first. Our product offerings have expanded too, from a single Python open source package to a multi-language agent ecosystem consisting of multiple popular open source packages and a separate commercial platform, Langsmith, Mr. Smith. Our technologies power leading companies' agents like Rippling, Vanta, Cloudflare, Replit, Harvey, and thousands more. Today, we are announcing a $125 million funding round at a $1.25 billion valuation to continue that trajectory, expand Langsmith, the platform for agent engineering, and grow our open source contributions. We wrote more about that in the announcement, which I read to you. With such a large funding announcement, and on the third anniversary of our launch, I also want to take the time to share my perspective on how agents have evolved over the past 3 years, how we've kept pace, and where we're headed. Starting as a side project, LangChain was launched as a single 800-line long Python package in the fall of 22 out of my personal GitHub. It was a side project. I was inspired by going to meetups and running into a few folks on the leading edge, building some experimental stuff with language models. I was instantly fascinated by the technology, but cannot claim to have had any idea how big LLMs would become. And that's same in our case. It's fortuitous. I saw a few common patterns in terms of how people were building and put those patterns into LangChain. After the initial launch, I kept on iterating it, adding mainly two things: more integrations to various LLMs, vector DBs, and more high-level templates for getting started with RAG, CQL, question answering, extraction in a blip of code. A lot of LangChain in the early days was experimenting with prompting techniques, and we were figuring things out alongside everyone else in the space. In addition to needing lots of integrations, it was clear from the beginning that there would be many options for LLMs, especially in a dynamic industry. Helping users pick a model and later change that decision was incredibly important. Model neutrality still remains one of the main benefits of our products. As the space exploded, I started working more closely with Ankush, my co-founder. We started to get the inklings of what would drive us to start a company. LLMs are this great transformational new technology, large language models. They are even more powerful when connected to external data and APIs. We call these systems agents. And it turns out building reliable agents is quite hard. When there is so much promise, but it's difficult to realize the vision, there's a massive opportunity to help. We were, and still are, determined to build the best tools to help others build reliable agents. We know what some of the needed tools are. We don't yet know what others will be. Our goal is to figure out what the agents of this future will look like and build the tools to make them real. We started the company in 2023, and LangChain was the first tool. The biggest problem we saw facing developers was that these LLM systems had quality problems. LLM calls kept messing up, largely because they had the wrong context. In order to make them more reliable, you needed observability into the context going into the LLMs, and a way to test that once you modified that context, and it actually led to improvements. Langsmith was our answer to this problem. Observability and evaluations for LLM systems. And we went live with a beta in the summer of 23. Notably, we made Langsmith completely separate from LangChain. We recognized that the space was early and that a tool like Langsmith was needed. So we committed to building Langsmith to be best in class, regardless of the framework that a developer used. Langsmith is neutral to the LLM and is neutral to the underlying framework, adding to our open and composable philosophy of tooling. During the summer of 23, we started to get a lot of negative feedback about LangChain. So we fixed it. One piece of feedback was harder to address. People wanted more control. While LangChain was the fastest place to get started, we traded power for ease of use. We started developing LangGraph that summer and launched it in early 24. One, controllability. No hidden prompts, no hidden context engineering. You had full control over your system, whether it was workflow or agent or anything in between. Two, runtime. We took everything we learned about what was needed for a production runtime and built it into LangGraph. LangGraph was inspired by the limitations of the initial LangChain. The production validation from companies like LinkedIn, Uber, JP Morgan, and BlackRock gave us confidence we were building in the right direction. So this is competition. But I think we're here too. Revisiting LangChain. A few months ago, we revisited LangChain from the ground up a few months ago. While we were seeing tremendous adoption of LangGraph, it had a high learning curve. So we felt LangChain was still needed. We wanted LangChain to be as easy as possible to start building agents, allow for more customization, and give it a production-ready runtime. We knew this approach would require massive breaking changes to LangChain. So we put it in a 1.0 release. We focused on the core tooling loop, synonymous with agents. Two, we added in a new concept of middleware, context engineering. And three, we build upon LangGraph, human in the loop. We believe LangChain 1.0 released today solves the goals we had for it and gives the community of over 1 million developers a clearer view of what we stand behind. Agents of the future. Our goal is to figure out what the agents of the future look like and build the tools. You can get in touch, reach out, and touch someone. They want to develop Langsmith into an engineering platform, and I think we're already there. But look, there's competition. All right, becoming a user of LangChain presents a mixed experience. Foundational uses is straightforward, but you need an understanding of Python, APIs, LLM, and it's a steep learning curve. Anyway, I don't believe that Railtown is as difficult as that. I'll see if I can find that GitHub entry. I may not be able to. Let me see if that's it. Takes a while to download. Now that's just Conductor AI. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, one of them says it's lined up with GitHub, and I can't find it right now. Just have to take my word for it. Just have to take my word for it. All right, let's go see what the one comment is. Account settings. William, how are you? Thank you, Neil, for sharing that info. CSE index listed rail in the top 25 today. That's an update that happens every month. It's a good sign, but it's been there before in the top 25. Right now, the stock is 29 to 29.6, 12,950 by 52,500. MTEN is up 5 cents at 59.19. Nixie's up 2 cents at $1.11. Finger is up a penny at 144. GNS is flat at 64 cents. The markets are all, NASDAQ is up 320. The Rays trade Tristan Peters to the White Sox. All right, so I don't know what else to tell you about the stock. I did just receive, and I think I can. All right, let me see if I can get this for you. Yeah, there we go. Here comes a friend of the company, but also a friend of the, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's close to the company, but I mean, he's a friend of the story, I guess is the way to say it. But I also think he's a friend of this channel. Patient Plays just posted, Railtown, 30 cents. Good to see a level of sanity and common sense returning to the discussion. You know, hypothetically, if you were sitting on a gold mine, and I think he's talking about Railtown, are you going to tell the world before you're printing it? In other words, are you going to tell the rest of the world what you're doing? You don't want competition. I'm liking the sound of silence. My summary, soon enough, all the questions will be addressed and the market will realize delays have not led to denials. The opportunity not only hasn't changed, but it's even better than you expected. This is an investment, not a trade, always has been. Yeah, I guess I showed you everything I wanted to. All right, so I should have started later in the day because I ran out of things to talk about. So maybe it's a good time to talk about negativity, the seduction of pessimism. The seduction of pessimism. According to Morgan Housel, in his best-selling book, The Psychology of Money, Chapter 17, the seduction of pessimism. Optimism sounds like a sales pitch. Pessimism sounds like someone trying to help you. Optimism is the best bet for most people because the world tends to get better for most people most of the time. But pessimism holds a special place in our hearts. Pessimism isn't just more common than optimism. It also sounds smarter. It's intellectually captivating, and it's paid more attention to than optimism, which is often viewed as being oblivious to risk. Before we go further, we should define what optimism is. Real optimists don't believe that everything will be great. That's complacency. Optimism is a belief that the odds of a good outcome are in your favor over time, even when there will be setbacks along the way. The simple idea that most people wake up in the morning and try to make things a little better and more productive than waking up and looking to cause trouble is the foundation of optimism. It's not complicated. It's not guaranteed either. It's just that the most reasonable bet for most people, most of the time, is optimism. The late statistician Hans Rosling put it differently. I am not an optimist. I am a serious possibilist. Now we can discuss optimism's more compelling sibling, pessimism. December 29th, 2008. The worst year for the economy in modern history is about to close. Stock markets around the world had collapsed. The global financial system was on day-to-day life support. Unemployment was surging. As things looked like they couldn't get worse, the Wall Street Journal published a story arguing we hadn't seen anything yet. The Wall Street Journal ran a front-page article on the outlook of a Russian professor named Igor Panarin, whose economic views rival the flair of science fiction writers. The journal wrote, around the end of June 2010 or early July, Panarin says the U.S. will break into 6 pieces, with Alaska reverting to Russian control. California will form the nucleus of what he calls the Californian Republic and will be part of China or under Chinese influence. Texas will be the heart of the Texas Republic, a cluster of states that will go to Mexico or fall under Mexican influence. Washington, D.C. and New York will be part of the Atlantic America, and that may join the European Union. Canada will grab a group of northern states. Professor Panarin calls the Central North American Republic. Hawaii, he suggests, will be a protectorate of Japan or China, and Alaska will be subsumed into Russia. This was not the ramblings of a backroom blog or a tinfoil hat newsletter. This was on the front page of the most prestigious financial newspaper in the world. It's fine to be pessimistic about the economy. It's even okay to be apocalyptic. History is full of examples of countries experiencing not just recessions, but disintegrations. The interesting thing about the Panarin type stories is that they're polar opposite. Forecasts of outrageous optimism are rarely taken as seriously as the prophets of doom. Take Japan in the late 1940s. The nation was gutted by defeat from World War II in every way, economically, industrially, culturally, socially. A brutal winter in 1946 caused a famine that limited food to less than 800 calories per person per day. Imagine if a Japanese academic had written a newspaper article during this time and said, "Chin up, everyone. Within our lifetime, our economy will grow to almost 15 times the size it was before the end of the war. Our life expectancy will nearly double. Our stock market will produce returns like any country in history has rarely seen. We will go more than 40 years without even seeing unemployment top 6%. We will become a world leader in electronic innovation and corporate managerial systems. Before long, we will be so rich that we will own some of the most prized real estate in the United States. Americans, by the way, will be our closest ally and will try to copy our economic insights." Whoever wrote that would have been summarily laughed out of the room and asked to seek medical attention. Keep in mind, the description above is what actually happened in Japan in the generation after World War II. But the mirror opposite of Panarin looks absurd in a way of a forecast of doom doesn't. Pessimism just sounds smarter and more plausible than optimism. Tell someone that everything will be great, and they're likely either to shrug you off or offer a skeptical eye. Tell someone they're in danger, and you have their undivided attention. If a smart person tells me they have a stock pick that's going to rise tenfold in the next year, I will immediately write them off as full of nonsense. If someone who's full of nonsense tells me that a stock I own is about to collapse because it's an accounting fraud, I will clear my calendar and listen to their every word. Say that we will have a big recession and newspapers will call you. Say we're headed for average growth and no one cares. Say we're nearing the next Great Depression and you'll get on TV. But mention that good times are ahead or markets have room to run or that a company has huge potential. And a common reaction from commentators and spectators alike is that you are either a salesman or comically aloof of risks. The investing newsletter industry has known this for years, and that industry is now populated by prophets of doom, despite operating in an environment where the stock market has gone up 17,000-fold in the last century, including dividends. This is true beyond finance. Matt Ridley wrote in his book, The Rational Optimist, quote, "A constant drumbeat of pessimism usually drowns out any triumphalist song. If you say the world has been getting better, you may get away with being called naive or insensitive. If you say the world is going to go on getting better, you are considered embarrassingly mad. If, on the other hand, you say catastrophe is imminent, you may expect a MacArthur Genius Award or even the Nobel Peace Prize. In my own adult lifetime, the fashionable reasons for pessimism changed, but the pessimism was constant," unquote. Quote, "Every group of people I ask thinks the world is more frightening, more violent, and more hopeless, in short, more dramatic than it really is," unquote. Hans Rosling wrote in his book, Factfulness. When you realize how much progress humans can make during a lifetime in everything from economic growth to medical breakthroughs to stock market gains to social equality, you would think optimism would gain more attention than pessimism. And yet, the intellectual allure of pessimism has been known for ages. John Stuart Mill wrote in the 1840s, quote, "I have observed that not the man who hopes when others despair, but the man who despairs when others hope is admired by a large class of persons as a sage," unquote. The question is why, and how does it have an impact on how we think about money? Let's repeat the premise that no one is crazy. There are valid reasons why pessimism is seductive when dealing with money. It just helps to know what they are, the reasons, and ensure that we don't take those reasons too far. Part of it is instinctual and unavoidable. Kahneman says the asymmetric aversion to loss is an evolutionary shield. He writes, "When directly compared or weighted against each other, losses loom larger than gains. This asymmetry between the power of positive and negative expectations or experiences has an evolutionary history. Organisms that treat threats as more urgent than opportunities have a better chance to survive and reproduce. But a few other things make financial pessimism easy, common, and more persuasive than optimism. One is that money is ubiquitous, so something bad happening tends to affect everyone and catches everyone's attention. This isn't true, say, of weather. A hurricane barreling down on Florida poses no risk to 92% of Americans, but a recession barreling down on the economy could have an impact on every single person, so everyone pays attention. This goes for something specific as the stock market. More than half of all American households directly own stocks. Even among those who don't, the stock market gyrations are promoted so heavily in the media that the Dow Jones might be the stockless household's most watched economic barometer. Anyway, it goes on. I don't think I'm going to read more than that. There are lots of no overnight tragedies. There are rarely overnight miracles. He talks about flight. Right, that's that chapter. And it's now 2 o'clock. I don't know if I have enough to say to go much longer. So maybe I'll just sign off at 2 o'clock. The stock is 29.6. And, maybe tomorrow we can talk about revenue projections. I've already given some. But I think we've gotten great feedback from Lavender. And maybe I can just quickly see if there's no news that's come out. Nope, it doesn't look like it. Let me try one more place, see if there's a filing. In Canada, Railtown is 196,000 shares. Last trade 40 cents. And no news. And no new filings. There doesn't seem to be any particular news, so we're in a quiet period. that there's not much going on. So it's 2:45. I don't know if there's any questions or anything anybody wants to add. But if there isn't, I guess I'll sign off and we can get back together tomorrow. Um, hmm. Yeah, there's not much news. Not much to talk about. It's now the Trump Kennedy Center. That'll get changed when AOC's president. Yeah. All right. I think I just might leave it right there. I have nothing more to add. Let's go through. Everything's green except for Railtown. Railtown is 281 bid, 296 ask. So one thing to do is put orders in under the market while it seems like they're very aggressively either trying to break it down one more level, 26, 27 cents. I don't know that they're going to be successful, but it also looks like they're trying to cross shares and book their profits after quite a productive steal for the last 6 months. Let's see what that is. I can show you. This is what account settings just sent me. I mean, it's a positive. They were on this list before. So on the 18th of December, I said monthly, it's quarterly. The quarterly rebalancing of the Canadian Stock Exchange 25 index, le rééquilibrage trimestriel de indices composé du CSA, I don't know how to say 25, entraînera les modifications suivantes en vigueur à la fermeture le vendredi. Anyway, so they added Railtown in technology. They've added a bunch of mining stocks, but they added Railtown to that index, it's very good. I would argue that Railtown's going to go up the chain on the indexes. All right, I'm going to leave it there. It's 47,000 shares today is what I'm seeing. I have a feeling later on there'll be a bigger number. Somebody sold 46,933 shares at 29. Is that a real seller? Or is that just trying to drive the price down? I would guess the 933 indicates that it's communication, but you never know. You never know. Could be a real seller. All right, I'm going to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll get back together tomorrow. Don't worry about the next couple of weeks. It's not something to watch every day. Just enjoy your holidays and maybe buy more or maybe not, but just don't be worried over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Account setting. I mean, I'm looking at it like someone is seeing a promising 2026 for Railtown. That's right. I think that's true. But it's also because of the valuations. But it's a good omen for, I think the surprises now are going to be to the upside. I don't want to tempt fate, but I don't think it can get much lower. So anyway, I'm going to sign out. Thank you for joining in. Peace.